WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, it's obviously...
They promised her historic monies. They offered $1 million payment, believing it would be sufficient to silence detractors and assure the league's future. It was meant to be the moment the WNBA arrived, when the new era was officially established with ink on paper. But Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Players Association have done the inconceivable. They said no. They didn't simply hesitate. They stepped away from the table entirely. The aftermath from that rejection has apparently claimed its largest victim yet. The league administration is shocked to learn that Commissioner Kathy Angelbert has officially retired. The denial of this new CBA agreement was not merely a negotiating technique. A vote of no confidence broke the WNBA's leadership structure. The league believed it could purchase peace with a big check, but they completely misjudged the revolution taking place within their locker rooms. To understand why the commissioner is apparently packing her bags and why this particular denial was the final nail in the coffin, consider the offer that was recently rejected. According to sources, the league eventually bowed and proposed a framework in which top players might make more than $1 million per year in base salary and bonuses. To the casual fan, that sounds like a huge victory. It's a significant increase from the peanuts that players were earning just a few years ago, when the maximum wage hovered around $200,000. It was meant to be the golden ticket that saved the 2026 season and avoided a labor strike, but the players walked away, fueled by the tremendous leverage of stars like Clark, Rhee, and Stewart. Why? Because they understand that $1 million is little compared to the billions that the league is expected to make. Look at the math that the players are looking at. The WNBA recently signed a landmark media rights agreement valued at more than $2 billion over the next decade. That's transformative money. That is the type of money that shifts generational wealth. When the league proposed $1 million wage cap for top players, the union recognized the owners were attempting to pull a quick one. They were attempting to lock the players into a predetermined number, while the owners retained the vast bulk of the upside. The players do not simply seek a larger allowance. They want a slice of the pie. They demand revenue sharing. They want a portion of every jersey sold, every ticket scanned, and every commercial shown. They did more than just reject a contract when they turned down this deal. They rejected the entire business paradigm that Kathy Engelbert had established a career on. That rejection seemed to be the last straw for Kathy Engelbert. Her reign has been typified by a desperate battle to strike a balance between the WNBA's elder guard and the burgeoning new era. She had been walking on a tightrope for the past 2 years before falling off. To understand why she is apparently resigning, think back to the total pandemonium of the previous season. It was a PR catastrophe from beginning to end. It began with travel complications, in which players were obliged to fly commercial, whereas charter flights were only available on a limited basis. Then came the prioritization rule, which required athletes to choose between the WNBA and lucrative international contracts. They are effectively pulling money out of their pockets. However, the true damage was done in the public view. Do you remember the interview that changed everything? On CNBC, Engelbert was asked about the negative aspects of new fan interaction, such as racism, internet harassment, and player toxicity. Instead of supporting her athletes, drawing a line in the sand, and condemning the hatred, she shifted to a corporate robotic response about rivals and marketing. She likened the situation to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird in the 1980s. It was disastrous. The players were infuriated. They felt abandoned. They felt that the commissioner considered their misery as nothing more than a marketing metric to increase participation. The union issued a statement questioning her leadership at the time, but she survived. She survived because the owners believed she could still deliver the financial goods. But now she's failed to provide the financial goods. Kathy Angelbert, a Deote resident, was brought in by the proprietors. She was a corporate shark and a numbers person. Her job was to expand the business. And to her credit, the league's valuation has surged. However, a commissioner has 2 jobs: satisfy the owners and manage talent. She utterly failed to connect with the athletes who power the business. You cannot run a sports league unless the players respect you. When the players publicly embarrassed the league by declining this historic offer, it was clear that Angelbert had lost control. The owners recognize that as long as Angel Boat sits in the big chair, no players will sign. She has become a symbol of the traditional manner of doing things. Slow, corporate, and out of touch. Angel Bird has apparently quit, according to sources on the internet, while the league attempt to control the narrative by issuing cryptic statements about continuing conversations. Sources insist this was not a consensual decision. The Board of Governors, the group of owners that administer the league, is reportedly afraid of a lockout. They understand the stakes. They understand that without Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and other stars on the floor in 2026, their revenue will plummet. The momentum that the WNBA has established is fragile. If they miss a season or even a portion of a season due to a labor disagreement, they may never receive this level of attention again. If the commissioner is the only thing standing between a signed contract and a lockout, he or she must step down. The corporate press is most likely framing it as a mutual parting of ways. You'll see statement congratulating her for her service, highlighting the league's success, and wishing her well. But let's be honest, this looks like a forced exit. The timing is too perfect. The rejection of the CBA occurred, pandemonium ensued, and now the leader is departing. Players wanted a change in leadership, either implicitly or overtly, and it appears they have finally gotten it. This is a huge win for the Players Association. It demonstrates that they have identified their leverage and are not hesitant to exercise it. They understand that the product on the court is all that matters. Without them, the suits at the workplace have nothing to offer. This moment demonstrates how the power dynamic in women's basketball has entirely flipped. For decades, the WNBA pretended that allowing women to play was a good thing. Salaries were cheap, travel was difficult, and marketing was non-existent. Players were supposed to feel grateful for the chance, but the Clark effect destroyed that mindset forever. When Caitlin Clark joined the league, she opened millions of new eyes. Ticket costs skyrocketed. Arenas have sold out. Merchandise flew from the shelf. The gamers glanced about and recognized they were the ones making the money, but they were still being treated as second-class people. There's another major factor that likely pushed Engelbert out the door. Unrivaled. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier launched a new 3-on-3 league. This is more than simply a side hustle. It is a direct threat to the WNBA's monopoly. Unrivaled is providing players with significant equity, six-figure incomes for just a few weeks of work, and a player-first environment. It presented the players with an alternative. Suddenly, the WNBA was no longer the only game in town. If the WNBA does not pay up, the stars may move to Miami and play for greater money, leaving the WNBA behind. Angel Bird attempted to play hardball in a world where she no longer had the bat. She didn't understand the monopoly had ended. The owner's loss of faith in Engelbert was most likely due to their failure to recognize the threat of Unrivaled. She seems to underestimate the participant abilities to plan and develop their own infrastructure. Players built their own leverage. They didn't simply ask for a larger slice. They created their own bakery. This forced the WNBA into a corner. They had to make an offer to the world to keep their stars. When they offered $1 million but were told no, the owners realized they needed a fresh negotiator. They need someone the players can trust, someone who knows the contemporary context of athlete empowerment. Of course, you can already see the mainstream media trying to spin this. They are labeling the players greedy or ungrateful for declining $1 million compensation. The headlines will read, "Is this too much, too soon?" But do not fall for it. This is not about greed. It's about mathematics. When the league signs contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars and the players are only paid a fraction of that, it is not greed to want your fair share. NBA players earn about half of all basketball-related income. Historically, WNBA players have received only a fraction of that amount. The players are not requesting money that doesn't exist. They want the money they generated. The story of the greedy athlete is an old myth used to turn spectators against players during labor talks. However, this generation of fans is more knowledgeable. They see sold-out stadiums. They believe the TV ratings will outperform the NBA in some categories. They know the money is there. The denial of this deal revealed that the league is still attempting to keep profits while women do the work. By rejecting the contract, the players remove the PR sheen and expose the corporation for what it is. Unfortunately for Kathy Engelbert, she was the face of that company. Let's talk about what comes next, because the resignation is only the beginning. If Angel Bird is indeed out, the WNBA will face a leadership vacuum at a key juncture in its history. They have to find a new commissioner quickly. But who would desire this job? It's a horrible position. You must bargain with a union that smells blood in the water. You must manage owners who are concerned about their profit margins. And you have to do everything when the entire world is watching. The next commissioner will need to be a battlefield leader. They'll have to cross a gap that feels like a canyon. There's also the prospect of a lockout. If no new contract is negotiated soon, the 2026 season is in serious jeopardy. Consider the devastation of canceling the season just after the largest growth year in history. It would be a business suicide. However, the athletes have proved that they are prepared to take the risk. They've saved their money. They now have different income streams. They are willing to sit out to receive what they deserve. The owners cannot afford a lockout. They have debts to pay, venues to fill, and television obligations to uphold. The league is fully responsible for the pressure. This is why the resignation makes strategic sense for the owners. By removing Engelbert, they activate the reset button. They can place the blame for the stalled negotiations on her. They can throw in a new face and claim we are starting over. It's a standard corporate move. Sacrifice the leader to rescue the deal. It enables them to return to the table with the Players Association and announce, "We heard you. We made alterations. Now let us talk." It could be the only card they have left to avoid a complete collapse in the 2026 season. In addition, we must consider the Caitlin Clark factor. While she hasn't officially sought Engelbert's removal, her silence speaks volumes. Superstars rule the current NBA and WNBA. If LeBron James wants to fire a coach, he will. If Caitlin Clark believed Engelbert was the right leader, she would have supported her. The fact that the sport's biggest star, the woman who single-handedly changed the league's business, is siding with the union against the commissioners offer you everything you need to know. Clark isn't simply a rookie. She wields considerable influence, and she merely flexes her muscles. The other players are also rallying. You can see the solidarity on social media. The bet on women phrase has evolved into pay women. They are sick of the investment mode excuse. For years, the WNBA's owners said they were losing money and couldn't pay players. However, now that the money is flooding in, the players expect the excuses to end. Angel Bird's inability to transition from survival to thriving mode was her ultimate failure. She was an excellent peacetime general, keeping the league afloat when conditions were difficult. However, when the league boomed, she proved to be an ineffective wartime commander. So, where does this leave us? If the stories are correct and Engelbert is out, the WNBA is entering perilous terrain. We are facing potential lockout that might cancel the 2026 season. The players have drawn a line in the sand, and they will not back down. The commissioner may be the war's first casualty, but she is unlikely to be the last. The league's fundamental structure is being challenged. We may see ownership groups sell. We might see a major overhaul of how the league runs. The next few weeks will be incredibly essential. We must monitor who the owners propose as a substitute. Will they choose a previous player? That would be an olive branch to the union. Will they choose another corporate executive? That would indicate that they want to fight. We also need to pay attention to the rhetoric coming from the union. If they applaud the resignation, it's clear that this was a hit job. If they remain mute, it indicates that their primary concern is money. The truth is that the WNBA has outgrown its old skin. It is shedding the past, and the process is difficult. Kathy Engelbert represents the past, a time when the league was yearning for recognition, sponsorship, and stability. However, the league no longer needs validation. It demands attention. It does not require stability. It requires equity. Players have evolved. The fan base has evolved, and the business has developed. The only thing that did not change was the leadership. The story is far from over. As we await the official press conference, keep an eye on the other leagues. Watch Unrivaled. Keep an eye on global markets. The players are demonstrating that they have options. The WNBA is now struggling for its own relevancy in a market it once dominated fully. The departure of the commissioner is a signal of a much bigger problem. The league's failure to acknowledge that players are partners, not employees. The issue you must ask yourself is whether the WNBA is prepared to treat its players as partners, or whether the league will implode in an attempt to preserve the old way of doing things. We are experiencing history in real time. The players had just taken the first shot in a revolution that will forever alter women's sports. The commissioner has gone. The agreement is over, and the future is absolutely unknown. Stay tuned because things are going to become a lot messier before they get better. They promise her historic monies. They offered $1 million payment, believing it would be sufficient to silence detractors and assure the league's future. It was meant to be the moment the WNBA arrived, when the new era was officially established with ink on paper. But Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Players Association have done the inconceivable. They said no. They didn't simply hesitate. They stepped away from the table entirely. The aftermath from that rejection has apparently claimed its largest victim yet. We are hearing from the league office that Commissioner Kathy Angelbert has officially ended her denial of the new CBA agreement.